Hi beautiful people, and welcome back to another video. So it's another trade breakdown video. Okay, so today I gotta buy a setup on the NzdJpy. Okay, so it's just due to support resistance. Okay, so some other people might call it trend lines, but for me it's just diagonal support and resistance. It's just what I normally use to trade. Okay, and then all I do is read market context. So without wasting any further time, I just want us to go ahead and break down the trade. Okay, so first I'm currently on the 1 hour. Okay, let me just go on the 4 hour. Okay, and then I want us guys to pay attention to this uptrend right here. Let me try. Okay, zoom in a bit. And I want us to read the market context. Okay, so I am seeing an uptrend. Okay, and with that being the case, I'm seeing the market come to every time it makes a pullback and pushes to the upside, I'm seeing a pattern. I'm seeing a trend line form, or what you'd call a diagonal support form. And most times the market came to retest, we've had like a push to the upside. Came back to retest, we had a push to the upside. And then zooming in on the 1 hour, we had the gradient of that trend increase. Okay, with that being the case, the market is still moving in the same context where it's forming this diagonal support. Every time the market comes to retest that, we have like a push to the upside. Or most times it came to retest that. Okay, and then moving in, you know I just recently drew this one. Okay, so the market increasing in gradient again, the uptrend increasing the gradient again, and now we have these two support. We had like first support, second support. We have like two supports there, and the market came back to retest for the third time. And one thing I want us to pay attention to is when the market gets to that diagonal support, how does it react? Like, what do we naturally see before we have like that advance? Okay, and as you guys can see, let me try zooming in a bit. We have these spikes. Okay, and then again, we have these like wicks. We have wicks. Again, wicks. Okay, let me try seeing the past. Okay, if ever I can see. Okay, so for now, I'm just gonna focus on this trend. Okay, right here. Okay, I don't want to make this video too long. As you guys can see, we've had wicks before price goes up. So yet again, when during this, we've had the market retest that particular trend line with a wick. Okay, that was like, okay, I need to pay attention. So I just waited a bit till I saw that upward push, and as soon as I got that, that's where I went long. Okay, and my stops, I just put my stops right here, just underneath this low right here. Okay, and in terms of my targets, since we are in the market context is telling us that like we are in trend phase, so I'm just gonna be patient in collecting profits. What I normally do is I put my targets right there on the previous high, but since we are in a trend phase, what I'm gonna want to do is just pay attention to how the markets will be moving up. And what I got going on this trade is that as soon as the market reaches a 1:1 risk reward ratio, I will be breaking even on this trade. Okay, so that's what's popping, that's what's going on when it comes to this trade. And in terms of collecting my profits, I am also going to be reading the market context, in terms of how does the market start reversing, how does the market start going to the downside, what does it use? Does it use trend lines? Does it use horizontal? Does it use diagonal resist? Does it use a diagonal resistance, or does it use horizontal resistance? What type of candlesticks form before the market starts going to the downside, so that I can know exactly what I'm looking for in terms of exiting this trade. So I will be keeping you guys posted. Please make sure to like this video and hit the subscribe button for more fire content. So guys, back at it. This is the NzdJpy. I took a buy, so it has been moving to the upside, and it got to reach my 1:1 risk reward ratio. Okay, and as soon as it did that, that's when I broke even on the trade. Okay, so like what I'm going to be looking for is basically exits, but I'm not going to be in a rush to basically exit this trade. Okay, so my first exit exit idea will basically be this high right here, but I'm not just going to be rushing to exit this trade. I'm just going to be patient enough to basically pay attention to what the market will be doing as it's approaching this previous high right here. Okay, but then ultimately I want to pay attention to, okay, let me just do this real quick. Okay, cool. I just want to pay attention to how has the market been, like, forming its highs. Okay, and then I'm gonna use that, as like a thesis. Okay, so one thing that aware of, it's this trend line right here. Okay, as you guys can see, price went and started being correctively, and then again price got here and then it went down. So I might be using that as an indicator to exiting this particular trade. Okay, I'm just gonna want to pay attention to how price basically gets back to this previous high, and then if ever it continues shooting up, I'm gonna want to pay attention to how it will be reacting to this particular trend line. Okay, let me delete this one. Okay, I'm gonna want to pay attention to how it's reacting to this trend line. Okay, so if ever I start seeing weakness and price starts being weak in terms of the gradient of the trend that I'm currently riding, which is this one, if ever I start seeing some weakness, then that will be an indicator for me to exit. So that's what I'll be waiting for, and I'll just be waiting for price to form, some lows. Okay, some high lows, and then basically break high for me to start trading my stops. Okay, so I need relatively significant high lows for me to start doing for me to start trailing my stops. Okay, so that's just it for this trade. I will keep you guys posted. Okay guys, back at it, NzdJpy. So I went long on this pair right around there, and then price went up. As soon as it went up, we reached 1:1 across board. We kind of broke even on this trade. So what happened is that the market almost stopped us out, before it actually continued. Okay. Um, so one thing probably with a lot of people, when the market does this, they'll kind of get scared and not really realize like this is just one single trade, bruh. Like it's just one single trade. We still gonna get like dozens of other trades. So you shouldn't, marry, the trade and all of that, and attach your emotions and whatnot. Okay, because it's just one single trade. So I'm currently going to be exiting this trade, and I'm going to be, explaining why I'm exiting this trade. Okay, so I want us to pay attention to this trend line. Let me just be on the 4 hour. Okay, this trend line right here, and I want us to pay attention to this bottom one, because this was like our thesis when we entering this trade. We realized that when it comes to this pair, this is a pair that respects the trend line every now and then, and as the gradient increases as well, it just keeps on respecting the trend line and all of that. But now I want us to pay attention to what happens when price starts approaching its diagonal resistance, like what pattern starts forming. And let me just go. Okay, as you guys can see, as price gets away from this diagonal support, or this trend line, this bottom trend line, and it starts increasing its gradient, it starts like moving in this type of fashion, and with that being the case, starts making a new trend line, like a new higher trend line. Okay, and it also respects that, and this becomes a signal that there's a higher probability that price might want to go back to retest the trend line before it continues. If you guys realize, as soon as price retested the trend line and started going to the upside, I won't say retested because this was when it was forming, but that's like, let's assume that we drew it from the past and all of that. as soon as price started moving away from the trend line and the gradient of the trend started increasing, look what happened. We have another trend line form, and price, just keeps on respecting it and all of that, up until what we have this pattern form again. Okay, as you guys can see, the common theme with the pattern is that it kind of has a high and then it goes back within the range, before it breaks it. Kind of has a high, goes back within the range before it kind of breaks it. So that's something to pay attention to. So being on the 1 hour, that's something I also paid attention to. Okay, so I know like we are at like highs in terms of the diagonal resistance. Okay, so we reached the resistance, and this the same pattern is forming. From the retest of this trend line, price started increasing in gradient, and then with that being the case, we have this trend line right here, and as you guys can see, the market is kind of like the gradient. When you compare the gradient, like you can see like the market is getting weaker. Same thing like here, you could see the market was starting to get weaker. You could see the market was starting to get weaker, comparing this up move with this price action, comparing this up move right here with this price action. Okay, so we currently having a similar pattern. Okay, the market got strong and then the market started getting weaker again, and with that being the case, it's the same pattern with the high, and as you can see, this trend line probably be coming back within the range before basically breaking this trend line. It's probably going to respect it one more time before it actually breaks it and comes back to retest it, retest this bottom trend line right here. So I'm just going to be chilled. So what I'm basically will be doing right now is exiting this trade, because I've seen when the market starts trading in this manner, we kind of have like a push to the downside and maybe a retest of this bottom trend line before it breaks. So I feel like we are at all-time highs. Like we are at like, okay, not necessarily all-time highs, but like we are at highs right now. Okay, so I will be closing both my positions. Okay, I just have one position. Okay, so I've closed out my position. Okay, so what I'm seeing is that the market might probably want to do this before it breaks, but this is only like what I'm seeing. It's not necessarily what's going to happen, because what I'm generally doing is using market context to analyze the market. So this is what I think is going to happen, but price might literally continue going to the upside for I don't know when, till I don't know when. So this is me finally out of this position. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please make sure to hit that like button and hit that subscribe button for more fire content. Signing out is your boy Reader. I love you a lot, guys.